Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is D-Shine, and today I'm here to review the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 2. Now, there's been a lot of negativity around the first episode of Boba Fett. A lot of people disappointed, a lot of people thought that it was going to be more action-y, a lot of people thought it was going to be more hardcore, and a lot of people just not digging the vibe that they're going for, or some people think that it's just the same old thing. Now, me personally, I enjoyed it. As I said, I had a great time with that first episode. Like, I'll admit, I'll admit, I thought there would be a bit more action, and I did in my mind think that it would be a little bit more hardcore, when it turns out to be a little bit more they're playing with things that they could not play with in The Mandalorian, which is Din Djarin and like the wolf and cub thing that they were doing with Din Djarin and Grogu. They're doing something a bit different with Boba, where they're playing up this, like, what's the vibe I'm thinking? Because like when it's in the present day, it's straight gangster stuff. Like they did more of that in this episode, in chapter 2. They did more of that with Din being with Din trying to interrogate this assassin, the assassin claiming the mayor hired him, Din coming up in the mayor's office like, you tried to kill me, the mayor being very ambiguous. We don't know if he's on Boba's side or not. So I kept saying Din. Meant Boba. Meant Fett. Yeah, we don't know if the mayor's on Fett's side or not. You know, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. We're not sure, really. And then the introduction of Hutts, which, by the way, I get so confused with Jabba the Hutt and the Hutts, because it's like, first of all, I remember a long time ago, I remember asking Seth, I was just like, why do the Hutts run everything? These fat slugs run all of crime, underground crime in fucking Star Wars. Like, these fat slugs run everything. I never really got that. I'm sure there's a real good reason that I just never seen before, but I've watched Rebels, I've watched all the Clone Wars, and I've watched every Star Wars film ever put out, and as far as I'm concerned, I haven't really seen a really good explanation, or maybe I just forgot it, of why the Hutt's running shit. By the way, also, I thought Jabba was the, well, maybe I thought, well, shit. Now I'm going to sound stupid. I feel like I'm going to sound stupid talking about it. But I thought Jabba was like the last of his kind. That's what I thought. But then all of a sudden, you know, Boba gets these twin slugs show up talking about some, we lay claim to our cousin's land, which, by the way, what the hell have you guys been for the last 5 years? You just randomly got up and went, we lay claim to it now. Just when Boba happens to be there. Really cool, awesome stare down. Classic, you know, gang stuff. Classic gang stuff. You know, then this really badass looking Wookiee came out of nowhere with black fur and just like, he was kind of armored up and he looked like he could beat and kick somebody's ass. He looks like he can whoop Chewbacca's ass. Whoever that Wookiee was, I don't know who he was. They didn't get a name, but whoa, that dude looked intense. And you know, you thought maybe a shoot down, maybe they're gonna start shooting in the streets, but that didn't go down that way. Clearly, there's a lot more going on here once they start getting into the more now stuff. But so far, in these first 2 episodes, a lot of them are focused on the past, his time with the Tusken Raiders. And this episode's almost an hour long. Shocked the hell out of me when I looked it up, and I was like, this is 58 minutes? I mean, granted, you know, an hour long, so it's about 50 minutes, 8 minutes of credits. But still, this is still a long episode. It kind of caught me, because the first week's episode was on like 28 minutes. It was about a 30-minute episode. And this week being almost an hour, it's almost doubled. And they spend about 14 minutes of it in the present day, doing the mob stuff, doing the gangster stuff, doing the, you know, he's trying to get respect without having to kill people, but he's like, you know, you can just see the tension is slowly rising on this side, but it is a slow rise. But then when we cut back to the past stuff, we see him learning from the Tuskens. Now, these are questions that, you know, people did wonder when we saw him, you know, Boba just show up. Like, why is he dressed up like a Tusken Raider? Where'd he get a gaffy stick from? How is he so good with fighting with that gaffy stick? All of these questions are pretty much answered in this episode. All of those questions are pretty much answered. Now, just to let people know, it's a bit different for this show, like Mandalorian and like this show, because particularly this show, because I think this show is going to be 12 episodes. I remember seeing something, because I know Disney put out their, like, list, like, coming soon thing, and it said Boba Fett episode, and I think it said Boba Fett, like, next month, like, episode 7 to 12. So I was like, oh, this is 12. If this is 12 episodes, then okay. Then now, like, it kind of does alleviate, like, because, like, you know, sometimes when it's shorter, it's like, oh man, I hope they're gonna get to it because it can't really. But this is like, oh, it's 12 episodes, so it's like, okay, well, fuck. I mean, hell, they'll get to it. They'll when it start popping, they'll start popping. Right now, in the present day, it's still simmering, it's still slowly building. But the past stuff is where it's at, because seeing his interactions with the Tusken Raiders, first of all, Mandalorian and Boba Fett have done wonders for the Tuskens, because not many people knew too much about them other than they were Raiders. They're Raiders. They're, you know, typically seen as bad. Other than the time where Anakin was killing them, which, to be fair, I mean, they did. Other than the time where, you know, Anakin, I don't know, was killing them, that's about the only time we had any sympathy for the Tuskens. But through Mandalorian Season 1 and 2, and even more so in Boba Fett, we are learning more about their culture, more about how they see things and see the world. More about them in general, more about how they work, how they operate, why they do certain things that they do. And there is definitely some correlations with Native Americans and the way they're doing this. There's a tad bit of dancing with wolves in here. You know, this outsider comes in. I ain't gonna lie, you don't realize how that trope hits different. I think I'm about to lose like 15 subscribers when I say this, but you know, I can't help it. It was on my mind because when I'm watching this, I'm like, they're doing the whole dancing with wolves, you know, thing. The whole, oh, the outsider comes in, takes in our culture, and becomes, you know, an important figure in the culture. Maybe even the savior of the culture. In fact, I guess you could say that because he did save them from this big ass space train that was going around lighting motherfuckers up. But that trope hits different when it's not a white guy. I don't know why. Because I'm watching the show and I'm like, oh, they're doing the thing, but it doesn't feel like they're because it's Tamora Morrison and he's like fucking Samoan. So it's just like it just don't hit the same. It just doesn't hit the ear the same. It doesn't hit the eye the same. I'm just like, it just feels like someone else from another culture is fitting into another culture, you know? It's like seeing it's like watching it's like if you had put an Asian dude, like, you know how, like, we talk all the time about how, you know, that there's that thing of, like, oh, the white dude goes over, he becomes the best martial artist, wins the tournament. It hits a little differently if you sent a Latino or a black dude overseas over to Asia and he became the best martial artist and won the tournament. It would still be almost the same thing. It just would feel different because you're like, oh, well, I mean, shit. So, but there's something about that part where Boba and the Tuskens, which I was just like, I just noticed it. I was just like, I know what they're doing, but it just feels different, so I'm not bothered by it. I don't know, you know, even like I don't know how to explain it. But you know, there was some really great action beats, some really good character stuff. And we learned that this Tusken tribe, of course, is an outside tribe. They're kind of like Din Djarin and his set of Mandalorians, where they've like hid themselves away. They're not involved in, which they do kind of. Of course, they would make that because you know we know that the Tusken Raiders can be pretty brutal and they can be big raiders. But we noticed that right off the bat with this group, Tusken Raider tribe. You don't see them raiding people. You don't see them acting out violently. Not really. So it's kind of like, it makes it abundantly clear that, because as the chief or leader says to Boba after he earns a lot of their trust, and you know they allow him into their tribe, like legit, like teach them all their ways. He is a member of their tribe. Give them the garb. Made him make his own gaffy stick. Like, it's made abundantly clear that it's like, oh no, we're not like them, because like, you know, there's tribes all over the place, but we're not like them. We keep to ourselves. We don't get involved in any of that. And you know, Boba's kind of like, well, that's cool and all, but y'all could be so much more. You could be so much more. You guys have a deal with this. I think they call the Pikes. You guys have a deal with the Pikes, but needless to say, regardless, the action sequence with the train was awesome. It was really cool. It was really cool. Like I said, I think they really got this whole technology down in The Mandalorian and make things look pretty freaking real. Some great stuff with the sticks, some great intensity from Tamora Morrison. He had a couple really badass action sequences in this episode. But overall, I will admit, even me, someone who enjoyed it, I'd give this episode like an 8.5. As me, someone who's enjoying the show, it does feel like they're like, what's the word I'm looking for? It feels like they're not in a rush to get to their destination. They're just like, we'll get there. Like I'm not sure how to feel about that. Like I can feel it. I can feel that they're not in a rush to get to where they want to get to. I can feel it. They know where they're going. It's not like this is a poorly written show and they don't know where they're going. They know where they're going. They know how to get there. But they're not in a rush to get there. And while I don't mind, I do hope the pace kind of picks up a bit, at least with the main story stuff. And, you know, other things. I mean, granted, the show's 12 fucking episodes, so it's like, you know, it's not like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and whatnot. So, you know, it can only go but so fast. There's a lot of room to cover. There's a lot of things to touch. I'm curious if we're going to get some stuff on Fennec Shin by the end of this. If we're going to get some stuff on, more stuff on Boba. Which I am going to go out on a limb, by the way. And just me going out on a limb. I think that tribe dies. Because I'm thinking to myself, why would Boba leave? There's no reason he would leave. And it was pretty much well established. He's been on Tatooine for the 5 years that, you know, between Return of the Jedi and The Mandalorian. So he's been on Tatooine for 5 years. Why would he leave now? He's been in his tribe. He's been good. There's no reason he would leave unless something really, really, really freaking bad happened. Like, they all died. So I'm waiting for the conclusion of this story because they can't do but so much, you know, because now he's earned their trust, so they can't really do but so much in the past. I'm hoping that, like, because while I like this past stuff, I am hoping they can focus more on the future stuff, you know, because I'm excited for the future stuff. Like, I really like those sequences. I know some people said they didn't. I really did, so I'm excited. I can't wait for next week's episode. Thank you guys for joining me on the Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.